to see you, man. It's been a long year, man. It's really good to see you.
Yeah, man, it's been a really crazy year. Um, it's been a transformative year for all of us. It's especially been one for me too, personally.
Yeah.
And I had to do a lot of reflection when it comes to what it is I'm doing with my life and purpose and a lot of these conversations. I know you tuned in just by when I listen to your songs like State of the Union, and I'm hearing your ideology and how you're speaking out consciousness. You know what I mean? When you're talking about shit that most people don't want to talk about, capitalism and all these different things. And so when you get in these positions where we got these mics and these cameras and you got your following, and I may have my following, I go through this every so often where I'm asking myself, is what I'm doing aligned with my purpose?
Right.
Why am I doing it? Who is it impacting?
Right.
I'm beyond how it's impacting me. I understand. I mastered me. I understand how to bring me joy. You know what I mean? My joy truly comes from bringing other folks joy.
Mm.
And so during this time period, this is your interview, but I'm venting
No,
too,
no,
man.
no, 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 no.
During this past time period, you saw the early on stuff I was doing with Kiyomi and my daughter, and I saw a
Yeah.
lot of early on stuff you were doing, and then I went behind the scenes to start working in the infrastructure of things and seeing how we can affect change systemically. You speak about that too, and so in doing that, man, looking at the business, sometimes you got to work through this business with blinders, damn near blinders on, you know, to feel clean when you come home and shit. And so I've been able to create a very accessible silo for myself where I don't have to communicate with publications, record companies, whatever the business entails, and just do what I do. During this time period, I had to communicate with a lot of folks, and it got really heavy, kind of draining, and
Yeah.
it made me kind of go into my phone booth like Clark Kent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Marlon, sometimes you got to jump in the phone booth and get your shit together to make sure you cool.
Right.
You ain't gonna be able to do anything for anyone. So I had a phase. I think everybody around me, our Heather, Tracy, Kelly, we all, the guys that work on the show, we all, had some phases. But that was then. Now we count blessings daily. I'm giving you the inside. If you saw me on the outside, you think Sway's still the same Sway, but I'm
Yeah.
giving
Yeah.
you, some real shit. And so,
I appreciate that.
no, that's all love, man. I had to really get back aligned to even wanting to do kind of like, I kind of got not disinterested. I just wasn't motivated to be, I wanted to be a spectator more than I wanted to be, one of the mechanics of the, of
Right.
the, of the business. Meanwhile, still invested in the culture.
Right.
you know and
Right.
it's a difference.
Well, that's
And
what's so hard. It's like how do you they're so intertwined, you know? I'm
hmm
like on the other side of that where it's like, you've been doing this for so long. I'm like still relatively new to everything. And so then like yeah, like every step I take trying to figure out like what is really necessary on how much you need to play the game versus how much you want to change the game, and then like what's the way to do it. It kind of mirrors politics in general, right? Like you
hmm
got people that are like, oh, we should be, it's just revolution or bust, or it's like incremental this, and then there's anywhere in between. And it's the hip hop and the music industry, it's like the same shit. It's like I'm sitting here like, all right, how rogue do I want to go versus I don't want to take myself out of things. I want to be a part of things. I want to go through and not around, but I've always struggled with that. And this year in particular, it's like I feel, my situation's mirrored yours a lot, man. It's like, it's just sort of like the same way you try to maneuver politics on the outside in the world. It's the same in the music industry. Like whether you want to go full blown, like blow everything up and be over here, or like we got to have a revolution or bust, or it's like incremental change anywhere in between, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, my situation's mirrored yours this year, and just like really trying to figure out like what makes my soul like feel good, like, and really prioritizing that, because it's like, you see how fickle all this shit is. It's just
hmm
like, it really felt so many times like this year, like is it all just gonna go away? Like, how close are we to that? And like, and if it did, like, do I care about this other stuff? And so I've just been, you know, realizing that last couple of years, even though there's the highs were super high, but I just had this undertone, like I just didn't feel good about a lot of things. And I'm starting to like somehow in the midst of this crazy shit, it's like you said, like I think you said your silo, that's fire. Like I got like my silos, like I rarely now I'm dealing with like so much less dealing with people I don't want to deal with, talking about things I don't want to talk about. It's like I'm blessed to be an artist in the midst of this whole craziness. I get to be an artist. I better use that shit, man. What if I turn myself into some like entrepreneurial imperialist, then what's the point of the blessing of being able to be an artist? Like, you know what I mean? So I hear you.
But you know, and that was interesting about you. Why I keep telling you, I watch you because I hear you, and I hear you speaking as look. I want to give you my thoughts, my feelings, my truth. You know, I'm calling these things as I see it. Your last two projects have really, you know, really nice political undercurrent to it. And then also it was up in your face. It was on the surface. And you're speaking about ideologies that people won't even admit to when you talk about white supremacy and systemic racism and all these things that you might talk about in a State of the Union. And even in this new album, you go really deep into your introspective. I watch it. And then sometimes you might think, Marlon, I'm gonna tell you, bro, it reminded me of myself in many ways when I was younger, and I'm screaming empowerment and I'm screaming unity, and we could do better together than we can, you know, separated and divided, and feeling like, man, damn, nobody's hearing me.
Yeah.
You know, but people are hearing you, bro. I love seeing you on, I want to say, was it MSNBC that did that piece? And I thought, okay, he's moving on the right track. Your peers, you know, it's always different. Some people, you know, you go to high school, some people play sports, some people are in the student union, some people, you know, they in the science class, and, you know, you might be way off in wood shop somewhere. You know, you in sociology right now, trying to get something across. And I remember one of the things that stood out to me in one of our conversations is when you said, you don't want to sacrifice your integrity. You know, I'm paraphrasing, you know, compromise yourself. And that was damn near 2 years ago. And I was just thinking, man, how is this dude surviving? Because that mentality doesn't pay. So how you been surviving with, you know, hanging on to your integrity and not compromising who you are?
Yeah, man. I mean, I found that it does pay. For me in the last year, that's been my glimmer of hope in all this shit, is that, like, you know, I left the label, I went back independent. I started this thing, you know, called The Center, is this crowd-funded, like fan-funded thing. And I built up this infrastructure of like being able to do things on my own, not answer to nobody. I'm not working with any like corporation that I don't feel great about it. And I don't know, and I'm making more. I mean, look, I'm still like, come on, you know, whatever, you know what I'm saying? We on the way, but I'm making more money than I've ever made, and I'm doing okay. I finally got to this point of like this first phase of like, okay, I'm making a living off of my art uncompromised. And there's been a lot of moments this year where I look at it and I'm like, want to shed a tear, because I'm like, yo, like that is such an incredible thing. Like, I make a living off of uncompromised art in 2021 in this society. It's like, I don't need all the, like, I don't need the riches. It's like that stuff. It's about what you define for yourself as success, because look, I have bigger aspirations and goals, obviously, and we're going to take this thing till the fucking wheels fall off. We're going to take it big still too. You know, my ambitions haven't changed, but like, you know, but man, like, I reached a certain place. So it's like, don't tell me that it can't be done. It's just about what you value. You know what I mean? And how long you're willing to work at it. So, and that's why, like, I always really looked up to guys like you, because when I came in the like, I tell people all the time, I know I don't know you like super duper well, but I tell people all the time, it's like Sway is probably the one guy that when I came to the industry, it's like, and really met him, it's like, he is who like you thought he was. you know, like it was like you didn't disappoint me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's been so many disappointments, like when you get in here and you start seeing the wheels turning and you realize that everybody's just trying to put food on their own plate and like whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, man, it's that longevity. It's that longevity.
It's that longevity. Yo, man, the disappointments that get you to this point where you learn that you could be nothing but who you are. It don't pay to be nothing else. In the beginning, we all got to do a song and dance a little bit. We want to get recognition, you know. We want to get attention for what we're doing. You know, we want, you know, and all that breeds opportunity. But the music business is just that. And I don't think we come in under that orientation. A lot of times as folks who never had experience in business, and what comes with that is a lot of facetiousness, a lot of, you know, surface type behavior and personalities. And you start getting disappointed because it's affecting you emotionally, and these people just doing business. And then that's when you start learning, okay, fuck the song and dance, man. I'm not, listen, this is who I am. I'm Marlon Craft. This is what I'm about. I'm an ill ass rapper, dog. That's what I do. And I rap about things that have substance, you know, that I'm trying to educate. At the same time, I'm trying to bite your neck off as an MC, you know. And sometimes, you know, that ain't the same agenda. That ain't the same frequency that folks are on. So you develop these mechanisms where you learn that, man, no matter what people think, no matter what their opinion is, as long as I'm true to myself, there is no wrong. You know, and that's why you probably seeing all these opportunities come your way, because you're true to yourself. What did you learn about the business along the way, though? Was Pieces your first project out?
Man, yeah, pretty much. Other than some like the really early stuff that was super trash that I probably took down from when I like first began, like, you know what I mean? Like Pieces was like, I was like my senior year of college. And man, I've learned so much. It's funny because I think about all these meetings that I was in, because business is a different type of thing, right? Like it's not about like smart or not smart. So when I came in, I was like, oh, I'm smart. I had my man with me. He was smart. We smart. Like we come to meetings and we think now all the time about how like, yo, we had no idea what we were talking about. Because, you know, a lot of times, first of all, it just takes time to learn a business and how it works, what's actually going on. But also because a lot of times the way things work in a business don't make sense. They're just set up. They don't make logical sense. So if you come in with like, oh, I'm smart, I could put this together, this makes sense, and you have no credibility, no leverage, and you just come in and you're like, yo, but we're gonna do it like this. And they're like, no, this is how it's done. And it's just like, and you look stupid, but the truth is you're like the one sane person, you know what I mean, outsider coming in. So we would go into all these meetings and just not know what we were talking about. And I've learned not only the mechanisms of it, but I've just learned like the smoke and mirrors, you know, like, and people talk about this all the time, but so many of these guys on the front, like they're not making money like that, you know, and it's like taboo because like a lot of the substance of the songs is about money, but it's like, you know, the people that own their stuff, the people that have diversified their business, the people that have multiple income streams while they sit at home, the people that, you know, are have a fan base that's going to stay for a long time. Like those are the people that are making money and making a real career. And I see all the time, like legends on like doing like IG promos and things like that. And I'm just like, yo, what were those deals like that they need this bag right now? Yeah. Like, because now I know the business and I'm not looking at that person as like, they're still the legend in my eyes, but I'm looking at them like, I know what's behind that. And I'm like, really? Like you need that? Because I know how bad your deals probably were. It's like, so now that I know, like, and it really is a pride thing. I'm rambling a little bit, but it really is a pride thing because it's like, how did we let it get to this point where like no one wants to just say like, yo, I'm this popping and I'm not making money. So let's talk about why it don't make sense. You know, it's crazy.
But then that goes that and see that opens up a whole new conversation. Why we be fronting so much, right? And it's interesting you say that because it's two sides of that. You know, why we be fronting so much. It could be I'm so into a lot of the lyrics that you said, but you know, it could be we worship capitalism, you know, and why is that? I mean, that's how we were programmed. Those are the things, imaging, the messaging that been put into us since however old we were, you know, especially in our communities. You grew up in New York, you know what it is. And then, you know, the flip side of it is I saw an interview that Muhammad Ali was doing with this, I want to say a British reporter, and the British reporter was trying to catch him up on, you know, their Nation of Islam philosophy about materialism, and trying to say that Muhammad Ali was being hypocritical by buying Rolls Royces or something to that effect, you know. And so that's that other side of why do we show off? And the way Muhammad Ali explained it was, I do that because if I didn't, then I couldn't get people's attention and they wouldn't take me seriously as I try to convert them into Islam. You know what I mean? So it's two sides of it, you know. But I think when it comes to rap music, it is. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting phenomenon, and that's how we're taught. You know, that's how it's been marketed since day one. Like you go back to the Curtis Blow eras of videos, and you know, Run DMC with the truck jewelry and all of those things. But to me, I feel like we matured enough now. We've been around long enough to realize what you're saying. Hey, man, I get it now. You know, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. How do we change that? How do we make that different?
Yeah, and I think like the other place that I'd like to get to, which just drives me crazy, is like the underlying thing beneath it all, which is like, all right, first of all, everyone's not getting as much money as they say, right? And these deals are bad, and it's rich white people profiting off everybody as usual, right? But even outside of that, like, when are we gonna take that step to be like, yo, like the cool wavy shit is not just about getting money. Like it's not. It's about the shit we're talking about. It's about trying to know and master yourself, trying to impact the people around you, your community, like leave a positive imprint on this earth, like find your joy. You know what I'm saying? Find your happiness. That we know is like, and I get it, like, and I get it. And look, like I come from New York. Yeah, I never had a silver spoon, but I'm a white kid from Hell's Kitchen. Like, I don't know about real poverty other than what I've seen other people go through. So I don't judge nobody. You know what I'm saying? That like, that's not for me to say. But at the same time, like, I just look back at the culture in general, and this is like, when is it's gonna be like, yo, I got this and I got that and I got that. And we say, well, no, you don't really got that. But then the second part of it is, even if you did, who cares? Because you might got that, but the shit that you're perpetuating ensures that mad other people continue to not have that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's like, you know, it's hard. Like I feel like the grandpa at the table a lot of the times, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
hey man, you still in your 20s, bro.
I know, that's what's crazy. But I've always been this way, like with my friends, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like, and this is what we talk about though, even in the beginning when we're talking about like, how do we move? Like, how much do you participate so as to sprinkle your shit in? How much are you just unapologetic all the time with your angle on everything? Because I want to be heard, and I don't just want to be heard by the people that watch MSNBC.
Yeah.
You know, Melbourne, no disrespect, it was a huge look, but it's like, you know, I want to be heard within the culture. And even within the culture, like, I mean, I've said it before, it's like, that was a huge media moment. And like outside the culture, right? And like people in the culture complain all the time about like, where's this dialogue and these songs within the culture? And then it was like,
no coverage,
no real meaningful from people, because MSNBC, that was like, there was like 3 million viewers watching that live. Like, and then the video was, so I just wonder sometimes about whether people are not really care, or are they just that hamstrung by the buildings they're in? You know what I'm saying? That they can't actually curate the shit that they want to. And it's like, but either way, whatever it is, it's not about judging people. It's just about like, let's have a discussion, because there's this narrative that people aren't making this stuff, and it's not true.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this is why people like, this is why we have these conversations. You know, I can tell you what I learned, man. I think it's room for all of this discourse. I think it's room for all of this behavior, if you will, all of motivation or It's room for the folks that, you know, want to glorify, you know, material items, whether it's cars, houses, you know, money, phones, all those things. It's we're not monolithic, and it's always going to be folks on one side of the coin, the flip side of the coin, and then somewhere in the middle, in the nucleus of another dimension, you know. And then it's people like you and it's people like me. I think you stay the course,
Right.
you know. You just stay the course, and that energy of curiosity of why others may do or think the way they do, embrace it, you know, support that, but stay on your course, and then you'll be the seed that grows and you know, creates a garden of like-minded people that also put that in the spotlight as well. I say this based on the fact that we live a lot of parallels in that sense. And I realized the only thing that's within my power is to stay the course, stay aligned with my purpose. It's how we intended, no pun intended. You like that?
That was fire. I like that. I like that.
You know, and you know, you said a lot of interesting things, bro. You said like even if I look on your social media, you say a lot of people don't love hip hop, they love attention. What did you mean by that?
Man, like when I look at it, it's just like we have this huge attention economy, right? That's just like Instagram, Twitter, social media. It's just all about how something's doing, how many likes it gets, how much eyeballs are on it. And people make music and they make their art like based on that. And they always just like justify shit. Like a lot of people don't even be like, oh, well, this is hotter because the way he did this or the way these chords changed into this or whatever it is. Like that's not the combo. It's like a lot of people, it's just like, yo, the numbers or like 1 million views or like this much and whatever. And it's like people are making music to get attention, and it's not true to what they feel. And that's why more and more stuff continues to sound the same, I think, because it's like, what's the shortest route to potentially getting the most attention? And I just don't see the love. Like I just know for myself and plenty of other people. I don't want to make it sound like this is the whole game at all by any means, but for us that really love hip hop and the culture, it's just like we can never like cheat it like that, you know. It's just not even about that. Like the parts of me that think about how to get eyeballs on my stuff, like that's the part that I resent having to do. Like that's the part of my job that we all have that I don't like as much, you know. So I just see that a lot. Like I don't know. I just think, yeah, and I think ironically, a lot of people would get more attention for their art if they put more of their heart into it and didn't care, you know, as much intentionally about getting attention.
I want to say the song "State of the Union." You said soul is vacant in the culture. You know, you said, yeah, soul is vacant in the culture. I can't think of what else you said after that.
Soul vacancy across the culture.
Across the culture.
So when they said they do it for it, man, I gotta wonder.
Yeah. How much energy do you put on that? Like, you know, like you put a lot of energy in things that kind of out of your control. You know, it's not, you know, folks they're not aligned with the way you think about this culture, the preservation of the culture. And maybe, honestly, they may believe that that's what they're doing through their success, through their views, through their streams. You know what I mean? How much energy do you put into that?
Probably too much, man. You know, you remind me of me sound like my shrink right now. You know, like too much, man. Because it's true. Like, you know, caring a lot comes at a cost. A big part of it for me is learning how to like you called it, stay the course, which that impacted me a lot when you said that. I think it's really true. And for me, it's like this idea of caring without so much emotion. Because you can't wring yourself dry. Like when you really care, you're an empath, and you can get really frustrated. I'm also like part Sicilian, so I'm just gonna get angry and upset, like all these things, you know. So it's like I can't let all that overcome me, because there's a lot of negative emotions that come from that. So it's kind of like this learning how to have this prolonged, sustained type of care, and to get it out on songs like State of the Union, so that I don't walk around like that angry guy, because that's not who I want to be, and that's not like positive energy to the world, you know. So but I haven't mastered it like too much, you know. Like I'll be frustrated, you know.
Yeah. And that's your passion and love. We ain't got to stay on it, but that energy is there, you know, to be utilized however you direct it. So you could keep reflecting on things that will never change. You sound exactly like I did when I was in that at the place you are now in your career. That part doesn't change. The only thing that, you know, is always going to be people who feel, you know, that function in that way, in that mindset. You think in culture, the best thing you can do, the only thing you could change is your behavior and how you stick and move, right? And it's important that you're successful. It's important that you get views. It's important that you get attention so you could be heard. It's important that everything you do is viable because your purpose is, you know, something bigger than just making money and being famous, right?
Right. And that's a huge point, because I think that's how I wrestle with the reality of the duality of having to chase views, attention, like, you know, streams, et cetera, all these things. And I put the pressure on myself to say, nah, make it mean something when you do it. Like, stay true to your integrity. And that way the numbers won't be empty. Because what it'll mean is that someone that's doing everything that you do to try to have integrity, say what you say, do what you do, got those numbers. You know what I mean? And then now the numbers kind of mean something. So yeah, it's not like we all want attention, man. I want attention. You know what I'm saying? I'm an artist. I want to be heard. That's why I started doing this. You know, artists, we want to be heard. But it's like the goal becomes the herd.
Yeah.
Instead of like, I wanted to have these things heard that I have to say. And the minute that you don't have anything to say, you still just want to be heard. That's where the danger comes, you know?
That's the danger zone, man. Yeah, one of the things I like about you, I saw you talk about, you know, Kendrick in the past and you know, the J. Cole's and all of these different folks. And I read that the Pimp a Butterfly is one of your favorite albums.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite album?
Yeah, that's my favorite album.
All time.
Yeah, that album, I remember my dad came to pick me up from school, from college, and drive me back to New York. I had already heard, and I just remember I was mad hyped to show it to him because he's a jazz musician, and it was like, you know, all the live instrumentation on there. And we just listened to it the whole way back. I just remember towards the end of the first song, he looked at me, he was just like, yo, I love this shit. And I was like, yeah. And I just thought it was amazing because he just did everything that everybody tried to say you can't do on that. Like, it was like he had huge hits on that record, like huge commercial successes. It was incredible music. It was narrative. It was deep. It was like, without being forced. He wrestled with the most like important topical issues of our time without being too on the nose or cheesy. And then the musicality of it just proved it was like, don't tell me you can't have 808s in the saxophone, bro. Like, don't tell me. He's the biggest artist in the world, you know, and look what he did. So that just gave me the confidence to be like, nah, that's what I'm going to do. That's all that live instrumentation shit that I like came from. I always wanted to do it, but that album gave me like, nah, that's what we're going to do. So, and hopefully some stuff I make could do that for somebody at some point. Like, I, as a young artist who's coming up, who's like popping right now. And I was talking with him, and his name's Red Veil. He hit me up, and we were talking about State of the Union actually, and then we were talking we were gonna do a song. And he's like 17, and he was asking me like, yo, how do you get the relationships with the live musicians and stuff? And I was like, yo, you know, you do this, do that, blah, blah, this is how it happened for me. But I was like, I'll put you on with some people if you need something. And he was like, word. He hit me up the next day, and he was like, yo, I need a sax player for this song, like whatever. And I put him in touch with this dope sax player, you know, within 10 minutes. And it was like, I felt accomplished as fuck. I was like, yo, first of all, I'm just hyped that there's a 17-year-old kid out there right now coming up making music that wants to put some live sax on his shit. And then I'm the guy that was able to put him in touch with somebody, whatever happens with it. Like, that to me, like, those are the metrics of achievement. Like, you know, we could get trophies one day and that'll be cool, but like, that's how you impact a culture to me. You know, that's what makes me feel special, at least. You know what I mean?
when you make that kind of impact. I think I brought up Kendrick because I feel like he's a great example of that you could use, you could utilize and how he functioned and know that everything you just said, he's biggest rapper in the world, one of the most respected artists in the world, award winning, accolades, the whole nine, and ain't nothing about him changed. He's one of those people you meet and go, okay, he lived up. Meeting him in person is better than what you thought it was, right?
Yeah.
He lives up to himself. This project, you talk about live instrumentation. I know the Funhouse Mirror, you had your homies, you guys got together in the garage and, and kinked it out. Like on this project, how did you put it together during the pandemic? Like, how were you able to accomplish it?
Well, I did half of the album we did on Zoom.
Okay.
Me and Dan Edinburgh and my man Kevin Theodore, aka X-Main, that they did like half the album with me, and we had met and done some stuff like before everything got shut down. And when it did, we just started doing these Zoom sessions. We had this thing called Audio Movers where like you could send me a link and then I could hear the output from your Pro Tools or your Logic or whatever. So we were basically just running them like real sessions. It would just be, all right, now play on this. Now send me that stem. All right, cool. I emailed it to you. All right, here we go. And I'll be like, all right, I finished writing. I'll be back in 30 minutes. I'm gonna go lay down the verse, come back, play the verse. I was like, oh, that's fire. All right, da. So we really got into it like during the quarantine because we was just on some like, we were not gonna be stopped, And I haven't been to half of the joints were done before. So I did them in the studio and stuff, but yeah, man, I was working with these incredible musicians. They're playing like violin and stuff, all this stuff like in their crib. I'm watching them do it just like I'm talking to you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't been to the studio in over a year because I'm just super paranoid and trying to be safe with the COVID and everything.
What would do, like when you make your songs, because your songs, you have your own style, you got your own vibe that you work in. But when you make these songs, are you listening to everything else? It's people who don't sound like you, different genres that are doing really well. The Baby, Lil Babies, Rowdy Rich, do you listen to the other music that's permeating right now and consider that when you make your music at all?
Yeah, hell yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, I want to be in the mix with those guys. Like, I want to be part of what's going on in the culture. Like, I don't want to be like, I've realized this year that I just won't compromise, and in the end I'll just be where I'll be, and it's like whatever. Like, but I don't want to be like some fringe, guy, because I feel like I'm making some of the best hip hop music period that's coming out. You know what I mean? Like, not like without some like asterisk, So I like those guys. Like all three of those guys, I learn from what they're doing, and I find the things that apply to what I do, and I do some trap joints and different things, and so even if I'm not like running through somebody's discography crazy, I'm definitely like like taking things from like, oh, that's dope, and like how he uses his voice like this or this flow or whatever. I'm a fan, and those guys are wild talented too. Like
yeah.
like people, even if it's not your like cup of tea or whatever, like Roddy Ricch is like, he's doing all types of like wild melodies and shit. It's like, it's fine. Dudes are musically talented. Like, it's not like, it's not as polarized as some. I really don't like when people are just like, oh, this is like what real is. And it's like, well, that shit is actually really simple. Dudes rapping the same 16 over the same drum break for like over and over again. Like, so it really, if it's musically interesting, I'm into it.
Do you feel like, we have to learn to, do we be patient for the change that we see happening in music, or like, or did we jump the gun and or are we too judgmental when people sound different and they don't function in the fundamentals and the basic principles of what we call hip hop or what's dope or what's culture?
I think, look, there's definitely, to your first point, I think like there's not enough artist development at all. Like that's part of the way things happen so fast in the industry. That's actually one of the gifts of everybody fronting on me for so long, is I've been able to like have time to get really good without mad pressure and spotlight on me for the whole time. Because when you come out the gate really fast and then all of a sudden like everybody's co-signing you, and it's like with social media, things can happen so fast. And some of these guys I'm like watching and I'm like, thinking that they're getting a little too much accolade, not because I don't think that they're dope, because I'm like, yo, you're putting wild pressure on these dudes. Like, they're not that good yet. And you're gonna maybe stop them from getting that good because they're gonna be wild busy and have this big label deal that they and got to do this and got to do that. You know, there's a certain hunger that comes from like having to build it. So I think there definitely needs to be more time on like just developing artists, but everyone's just kind of chasing a quick buck. But there's some guys that are really doing it right. I mean, look at Griselda. Like, look at what's happening this year. I know you've been on them for years and years. It's like that's the culmination of years and years of like belief and work, and getting better at every aspect of what they do in their business. Like, look at Freddie Gibbs and Alchemist.
Freddie Gibbs, yo.
Man, got Grammy nominated. Like, that
Come
to
on,
me,
kid.
that was big for me.
That's a win for culture, though. That
was big for me, because that said to me, because if you telling me I get my first Grammy nom in 10 years, you told me that today, I'll be like, that's cool, bro. I'm trying to be here for life. Like, that's cool with me. Like, the idea that type of longevity and just greatness over time is rewarded, So that's how I look at it, man. Long game. I'm in it for the long game,
I like it, man. You gotta, when I think about some of the things you're saying, you said, early on that you guys used to go into these business meetings and didn't know what you were doing and didn't know, what you were saying and thought you knew it all. I'm curious to who are some of those people you met with? I want to see how big those business meetings got.
Man, like booking agents.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't have a booking agent. Like, they all don't like me, but for some reason, I don't know. But
what did they tell you? I mean, they said something. They gave you feedback.
No, I had one and I left. See, I'll just tell this story. I don't even care anymore. This is a good example of what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say this isn't true or whatever. I don't know. I have a meeting with booking agents this week, so hopefully it goes. I don't know, whatever. But here's what happened, right? I had a booking agent. He got me early. I didn't feel like there was no opportunities that were coming. He wasn't really doing stuff. It wasn't working out. I didn't really know maybe how to manage my own expectations. Fair enough. Fine, right? But I was kind of like, yo, we need some opportunities, these things going. When I came to the label, they were going to line up meetings with other booking agents for me. Most people, what they would do is they would go take those meetings first, because you don't fire an agent till you have another agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I try to move with integrity, and I knew it wasn't working out with us. And I knew that I was going to go do other meetings. So rather than have him hear from other people or whatever, that I'm going doing other meetings or be whatever, I just man to man, I just say, yo, bro, I really appreciate everything that I'm going to other meetings. I want you to hear it from me, because I'm going to go do these other meetings. So I just think it's not working out. And, probably, right, like that seems like how you, boom, right? I thought that was a really like high integrity move. I haven't had another booking agent since then. And the ones that I have met with, it really always feels like it goes well. And then they dig around, makes calls, talk to people. I don't know. Like, they're friends. He was friends with whoever. Like, I don't know. And I don't think it's actually him doing it or anything. I'm not accusing nobody of nothing. But this is my point, right? Like, this is one of a trillion stories where I try to move with integrity in a business that is built for you not to move that way. And it seems like there's punitive results of that, right? You're just trying to be honest and be a good person. And that happens, shit like that, how it goes. Like, if shit like that. But you know what? I truly believe, the other thing is, I make a lot of these people uncomfortable, man. Like, it's like, it's easy for you to fuck with me because you're you. And so you feel comfortable. You know who you are, where you sit in the shit. But it's easy for someone that sits in a chair that's from like wherever, like suburb that they're from, and they make all their money off a bunch of like young Black kids that, rap about shit that they don't know nothing about. You know what I'm saying? To look at me and tell me that like, no, we're not. But that's because they don't want the mirror.
Yeah.
They don't want the mirror, bro, because the mirror gets held up and it's like, oh, yeah, I'm the real version of you if you weren't a fraud. You know what I'm saying? So these things combine, but I really do believe, man, like we said in this conversation, and I want to be clear, I'm not complaining. I'm just talking to you honest, because I got so much respect for you. We just talking, but I really believe in the aggregate that trying to move with integrity and with principle and do the right thing all the time, in the end, 10 years from now, when we look up and it's like, where am I at? I'm gonna be rewarded. And I'd rather do that all the time consistently than be like, this move I gotta sacrifice a bunch because it's like this is where I sacrifice, but over here I'm gonna keep my integrity. It's like, nah, I realized this year, man, I'm gonna just do it the way that it should be done all the time, and the chips fall where they fall, man. And at least my heart will rest easy. You know what I'm saying?
I like that. Where I Am, matter of fact, on the album, right? And listening to this album, man, I feel like I went through your whole life in the past year, however long it took you. I heard the emotional ups, the emotional downs, to pay attention, and the interludes, and how you talked about your girl and your family around you is who held you up, and it seemed like you might have hit a pivot and then start coming into yourself. Mm-hmm. Where I Am is an interesting song to me. I'm curious do you feel like you are now where you're supposed to be?
Yeah, man. Yo, it's so funny because you always bring the songs that no one's like talked about yet, and I'm like wondering why I haven't got to talk. Like, I remember the first time we met, you like brought up the intro, and you were like, yo, play the intro, and I was so hyped that you did that because I was like, I love the intro, and no one's really said shit about it yet. Same thing, this song, no one's really said shit about it yet, but I love that song. Yeah, man, I really feel like it's an ongoing discovery every day of who I want to continue to grow into. But this is where I'm supposed to be at. Like, I'm supposed to be uncompromised. I'm supposed to be my own boss at all times and you know, be in control of my situation. I'm supposed to just be operating like from the heart, you know what I'm saying? And I'm a real heady guy and an intellectual guy, and I run like a lot of my own business. And so like I wear that hat, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But this is where I'm supposed to be, man. I'm supposed to be operating from the heart. Like, this is why I got into this. And this is actually what makes me different than everybody else. And I think I was trying to like meet a lot of shit halfway. You know what I'm saying? Like, even musically. And I don't regret none of the songs that I made because a lot of it comes cool out of it, right? But I would be like, intentionally, I'll be like, yo, we're going to make like a trap banger, but then it's going to have these musical interludes. So it's going to be like a blend of the worlds. And that shit is fire. It worked a lot. But it was just, even that, I was like, too intentional, like, you know what I'm saying, with the catering to something like to who?
Wasn't 100% organic, right?
Yeah, to who? Like, to who? Like, if we gonna make that song, it's gonna be because that's what we felt, you know. And so that's when I think about like where I am, you know, where I'm supposed to be. It's just like that like I realized it, you know. It's like, this is, and that song in the narrative of the whole thing comes after Working Man. Mm-hmm. And so that for me was like, I ain't trying to, I'm like realizing like I might be rich one day off this shit, but I'm like down here like with the people. Like, this is where I'm at, man. I'm a man of the people. Like, I'm a person, however far that gets me, that's however far that gets me, you know.
I like it. You saying that song, it's the line I always have to paraphrase. Some lines stick in my head, and you said something about sweeping. You could sweep the dirt under the rug, but sooner or later, the rugs is going to get bugs or something like that. What was the lyric? Say the lyric.
You could sweep cheap dirt under expensive rugs, but eventually you're still going to get some bugs.
What were you thinking of when you wrote that specifically?
Well, you know, it's like we hide the pain, and we hide the shallow impulse and craving underneath luxury. You know what I'm saying? Like, expensive rugs. It's like, you know, whether you sweep that dirt under, you know, an expensive rug or a cheap rug, it's a rug, man. It's under there, and they're gonna find it, and you're gonna get some bugs under there or whatever. So it's just like, you can't hide forever from these things, especially not with luxury and with money. And also, I was just thinking about like personal shit, like family shit, like, you know, because it's not all about this thing of like, oh, the people that just want to flash the jewels are bad, and the people that are using their brains are good. It's like, nah, like we're all sweeping a lot of emotions and inner stuff under the rug that's hurting the whole thing, you know.
Damn, bro. What do you do for fun?
Yo, oh shit, man! I drink.
You drink. That's how you have your fun.
Yeah, nah. That I've been realizing this year, like I need some hobbies. One of the things I can't wait till I'm fully vaccinated and we get outside because I miss playing ball, man. I'm a ball player, and I realized too,
That's
like,
right.
yeah, I'm not giving that up no more. I only got I only got so many years left in these knees or whatever we got. Like I'm getting back at, like, that's what I love. I love to play ball, and I put that on the back burner, and it's like life's too short for that shit. But I need to have fun more, bro. This shit like weighs on me a lot. You know, it's like the reason people are drawn to my art is like I really appreciate how much you hear me, because it's hard sometimes for people that are like, oh yeah, you're doing good off your music and that's really cool, but they're not seeing like the weight that like it takes on me, like the toll to like go through this thought and these feelings and be this type of person that receives this type of energy and shit. And it's hard, you know what I mean? So I need more hobbies, yo.
You need somebody, yeah, bro. We gotta get you outside, man. We might have to go, surfing, body surfing or something.
I'm with it.
Hang gliding. Are you still in a relationship?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cause the song Offbeat. Is Offbeat a love song?
Yeah, hell yeah, that's a love song.
That's a love song, right?
Yeah.
When you make songs like this, do you let your girl hear them, or does she think they're all about her?
Yeah. Well, right now they are, you know. And you know, it's funny. I'll tell you that it's so funny because last time I was on the show, it said something about like, because somebody asked me, do you have a black girlfriend? I was like, oh, my girlfriend's Puerto Rican. And it was so funny. We did a show on tour in DC, and we came outside, and my girl was with me, and we were walking. There was some fan outside, and we're like, yo, that's his Puerto Rican girlfriend. Yeah, I was dying, bro. I was like, oh, nah.
That's Puerto Rico right there.
There she go. You know, like, yo. So it was mad funny, but yeah, no, I mean, like, she hears all those songs. I mean, I think anybody that's been in a relationship this year through all this shit is probably extra grateful. First of all, they probably gone through extra rougher times too, you know, the quarantine, but also extra grateful, just, and for her support, and like me being like such a handful that I am, like this ball of emotion and artist and so busy and like caught up in my shit. And she just always is like holding me down and standing by me. And Offbeat, I actually wrote like a year and some change ago on the anniversary of Mac's death. Mac Miller was in LA, and my man, we were going to do a session with my man Kev and my man Dan, and Kev actually played keys on the intro to Mac's last album on Swimming before he passed.
Wow.
And someone told me that I was on the way to the studio, and I texted Kevin. I was like, yo, it's crazy. We got to have like this crazy session today, man. Like, it's in the air. Yo, it was just in the air. Like, the first song we made was Offbeat, and it was one of the best days of my life. Like, we made Offbeat, and then Plain Pat came through later, and we made another song with Plain Pat's not out yet, but it was just like 11 hours straight of just everything worked, everything flowed, like everything came to me, like it was Offbeat. And yeah, man, that song's so special to me for the combination of reasons, you know.
Yeah, you feel like you kind of channeled Mac energy, you know what I mean? Having Kev there that particular day.
Yeah, like, you know, I put the line in the songs, like, on those days I really wish Mac was still here, and that's why I did that. And like, yeah, you know, I'm not like mega spiritual all the time like that, but I felt something, bro. It was like it was just a special day, man. Like, we all felt it, because that same trio that made that day in person was the birth in many ways of a lot of the album, because that was the Zoom trio, like, you know, that we just were always doing Zooms together. So it was special.
Man, I miss Mac, man. That dude was very special, man. I mean, I think we all realize it now. We can appreciate it now, but that dude was very talented, very special, man. I miss that dude. I heard that line in the song too. It was like, I'm glad you know, keep mentioning his name, bro. You know,
Yeah, always, man. I never got to meet him, but he was such an influence, and like just as a musician, like
Mhm.
such a beast. You know, once you start to get to know all these real like musician cats and stuff too, like in the game, they all have mad respect for him. Like he played everything and did so much production, and yeah, I mean, just you know, there's very few people honestly that I'm like wild hyped to meet, you know, in the
Mhm.
game that I haven't met with, or like I can't wait till I'm this place and I can meet this person. He's just always someone that I really would like. I'm just like, damn, I'm never gonna get to meet that dude. Like that just really sucked.
Damn. Yeah, man. That does suck, but you know you get to know them. I'm a firm believer energy doesn't die. People pass on, but the energy doesn't. You know, and I think when I said, do you feel like you kind of channeled that energy? I believe that's possible. I think that's a realm of possibility that maybe is not within our capabilities of, you know, antiquating or putting it in dollars and cents or names and numbers or colors, but energy is energy, bro. And I
Yeah,
definitely think it's something you feel. I think it's something that exists. You mentioned Nipsey too in the song "Loyal" when you talk about trying to build community like Nip, you know. And how much did Nipsey Hussle influence you? How much did he impact you as an artist?
man. So I won't front, like I wasn't super like deep into the music for a lot of years. I knew who he was, but like kind of peripherally, and then I just found him more and more. And then in like the year before his passing, I was really like beginning to follow him more because I was like understanding the business model and like all the things that the innovation that he'd done and the trail that he was blazing, everything he stood for. And I was like, yo, this dude is so important. And was really getting into the music. And another crazy thing about that is just that like when we were shooting the video for Gang Shit, it
Mm-hmm.
was the last, right before the last scene. We'd been shooting all day, and the very last scene at the end is like the family's there and the kite burns in the sky, and they watch the kite burn. And so all we had left was we were about to go burn the kite, and the whole video had been shot. And then we got the news that Nipsey died, like on the set that day. And it was like,
Wow.
again, like eerie, you know what I mean? Like the timing of that for me, it like let me know, it just felt like I'm definitely doing the right thing, but also like there's this scary weight. And so not to make it like about me or anything, but that was just my experience with receiving that news. And like yeah, man, I just think he's such an important dude. Like, and in terms of like, yo, that thing with the album when he sold those albums for $100, I
Yeah.
didn't understand that. I was just a kid and I was like, what type of shit is that? And because I've been downloading everything on LimeWire, I'm like, yo, you bugging. But now that I know the game and like the scarcity model, and like that's like the whole game now on the independent side, and it's just like the innovation and just yeah, man. That's another dude I really wish that I could have met and chopped it up and worked with. I mean, there's so many great people been taken from us, and I wrestle with that sometimes too. Like I wonder, like, you know, it's like I think about that this year a lot, very heavily. Like, you know, like what nothing's promised, you know, and like I want to be here for a long time, you know, knock on wood. But if I'm not, like, what did I leave, you know? So it just feels very weighty this year. So much death this year, you know what I
A
mean?
lot of death, you know, when Pop Smoke got killed, King Von, all these different artists. And I just, man, I liken it to, you know, Big L or, you know, just Biggie, Pac, you know, for us, you know, it's the same. I still feel the same thing when I hear about these artists and their lives being taken. And this is your you know, this is your era of MCing, you
Mhm.
know, and it puts a damper on things, you know, just to say the least. You know, that's why I think it's important that what you do with this mic, what you do on that camera, you know, make sure it counts. You know, it's definitely make sure it counts. The fact that you still here, you got the song Grateful on the project. And man, I'm gonna tell you a story real quick. Because this song is like to me, it seemed like it's dedicated to those who doubted you too, right? It's
A
dedicated to
bit,
the
yeah.
yeah, and so I was telling somebody this today. Matter of fact, somebody at work at over MTV executive over there, my guy Bruce. We were talking, and we were talking about some projects coming up, and we were talking about some history, some hip hop history. And he was like, "Man, how did you get into radio?" And I said, "Man, it was never a plan. He said, really? I said, nah, man, I was MCing, man. I wanted to do like LL. I wanted to be, I was shit, Criminal Minded was my first favorite album, and so I wanted to do that. I was like anybody else, but me and my partner King Tech had read information about Herbie Lovebug, producer who produced Salt and Pepper and Kid and Play and different artists, and they had a style and a sound we liked, and we heard that they went to this school, New York School of Technology or something, New York, one of those New York schools that they went to get he got an engineering degree. Salt and Pepper went there too, I believe. And so we read that and saved up our money and took a trip from Cali to New York, not knowing nothing, kind of like y'all were walking in these meetings thinking, okay, we kind of smart, we gonna figure this shit out.
Yeah.
So we find a school and we go in there and they meet me and my partner Tech. And Tech knew what he wanted to do. It was like, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to, get into engineering. We make music and I want to make sure I learn how to engineer it properly so the sound is right and the levels are great. Okay, you go to that department over there. That's down the hall. What about you? And they looked at me and I was like, and I just saw radio. They had a booklet or something that said radio, right? And I said, radio, I'm interested in radio. They said, okay, you go down the hall. We're going to have you read some things. So I went into this studio and I started read. Bro, I was a killer reader. You know what I mean? Like, growing up in school, I could write, I could read, comprehend, mathematics. That's me. Yeah. And so I'm killing the reads. Boom, 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 boom. But I'm from Oakland. I'm from California. So my dialect was different. And they looked at me. They had me read again. And then the head of the department called me in a room and said, I want to talk to you. She said, I want to be honest with you. You should never try to pursue radio. You'll never get a job. And I just want to be honest with you because I don't want you to waste your time and money. And God bless that lady. God bless that lady for telling me that. I'm so grateful that she told me that, Marlon, because it clicked something in me. I didn't even really want to do radio.
Yeah.
It was the fact that she said that. I said, wait a minute, hold up. Nah, man, that's not true. Nah, it's just not going to work. I said, I'm from a different place, so maybe you don't understand. Nah, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Man, last year I got into the Radio Hall of Fame. I'm grateful that woman sparked that fire in me, bro.
Hell yeah. I love that. I love that. Talk your shit. That's the whole energy of that song. That's so beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, and that's what I thought when I heard that song. What else some people said to you?
Oh man, I'll tell you a story. I came up, my man's was working at like a big music company type thing. And I ain't trying to shit on them OD, but I always remembered this. And I came up from college because he like got me a meeting with them and came back home for the weekend. It was like this big meeting, went in and I was trying to like show them some music I made and make my case on what I was going to do. And back then I knew what I wanted to do. It was like J. Cole had just did the Be Free joint on like Letterman. And it was like, and I was like telling them like, yo, I want to make music like that. But I think that it can be different because no one's ever done it from like my perspective, in that way. And I want to, whatever. I remember this guy was just like, they were talking about him and they're like, he's like, let's be real. He can't make songs like that. He won't make songs like that. He's not gonna, like you're not gonna be able to, do that, whatever. And my biggest songs are Gang Shit, State of the Union. Like these are that people, so many people in the culture have respected and have made, big moments around these songs that have forwarded these dialogues in my own way. So when I look back at like that and being like, nah, fuck that, like watch, like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm really proud of that, like those pillars of my career in that way. But so many people, man, like, I mean, yo, and then people don't realize too, it's like once you get a little bit of fame, everyone thinks everything's so easy. It's like, yo, bro, you know what it was like being home, living in my parents' crib, looking like me, having no fans, no notoriety, and everyone asking you, yo, so what are you doing? I had this EP after Pieces called So What Are You Doing?
So
because everyone would ask me, so what are you doing? And I'd be like, oh, I'm trying to rap. Like, do you know how that felt? Like the emptiness every time and the looks and the fucking, you know what I'm saying? So I just took all that in and I'm just like, and the gratitude, bro. It's like you meet that with the gratitude because it thickened my skin and it made me know that this is what I want to do. I had to get so good. I had to get so good so that no one could say shit. And it's been like that my whole life since basketball. It was like, you know, I had to be so good that can't nobody say shit. And they still gonna say shit, but whatever. You know what I mean? So
it bounce off you because you know your shit. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
Yo, that man said you was never gonna be able to make songs, bro. I love it, man. We all got those stories, man. I promise you. I don't like to say the name of the school in my story because people will research it, and I really don't want people. I don't say the year it happened because I don't want people to go after that woman.
Right, right.
And folks who tell you what you can't do sometimes, man, that's all you need to hear. It's what you can't do. I like your song Hoodie Weather too. That's in the front of the album. I enjoyed a lot of with the energy. I enjoy the spirit of that song, you know, Hoodie Weather. At what point did you write that? Where were you?
That was like one of the more recent ones, you know, it was during the George Floyd protests. You know, I did that and I did Looking Up, you know, I think in the same couple days, same week, like during when it was like all the protests were going on outside, and it just felt very apocalyptic because everything was so shut down and there was all this energy and yeah, and Hoodie Weather, I was just like, man, this feels like, you know, it's like a political song, but it's like it's very simple, like minimal production. It's kind of like anthemic, you know what I mean? And I think the big challenge, you know, the question is like, yeah, well, it's like when it's hoodie weather, when it's not hoodie weather, like, are we still showing up? You know what I mean? Like, is once the season passes, you know.
Do you feel like the urgency has left, like some of the air has left out of the urgency? Like at one point, the country, everybody was tuned in one way or the other, but we were all tuned in, and it's, you know, now you see a different administration come in that represents change. The insurrection happened, it like came and gone like it was an album. Somebody dropped, you know, shit. It only streamed for a week.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And I just feel like, you know, we saw this in the past. You think people lost the urgency?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, I felt it. During that whole time, I wrote a song called Time Will Tell, and that song was like, like we had the music around it. I had this painter do this awesome like painting that was based on this old painting from the Revolutionary War, but it was like updated for now. And we did this crazy ill video with all this like special effects. And my methodology was like, everybody is like rushing to say something. First of all, I need to let, you know, Black artists take the front seat, you know what I'm saying, right now, and wait like let them speak. But also what I've done a lot in the past is I've jumped to a moment, find a beat, write it, like, let's get it up online. And I'm like, nah, let me give this the same attention to artistry I would give an album. So I worked on that piece really hard. I thought it was really powerful. And it was very appreciated when it came out by whoever like appreciated it and whatever, but it really did feel that way. It felt like the moment had passed. Like it felt, because it took me a few months to get it together. And it was like, it just felt like the moment had passed. And it was kind of like, damn, that's the exact reason why I took so long, because I'm like, nah, I'm not rushing to a moment. There is no moment. The moment is continues. But it was like the confirmation of that problem, because it really did feel like the moment had passed. And I mean, now it's the same thing. Like today, right? It's like, you know, with the Asian American hate that we got going on, and the violence and everything like that. It's like, you just hope that we can institutionalize, both in our institutions and in our mind and our souls and our emotions, our psyches, like change and making an effort to be a part of change, because you just see these things come, they just come and they go. It's like flavor of the month, man. It's hard to watch, you know what I'm saying? You know.
Man, that thing moves like seasons. It's like, you know, a certain time of the year, you're going to be able to catch striped bass. You know, it's a season for them. You know, they running up the Hudson only at a certain time of the year. And when it happens, though, you got to get out there and capitalize. It's cyclical. Right. So, you know, similarly, everything is different. But, you know, in the early 90s, we marched because of Rodney King, you know, and it's been many marches since, Jenna 6, so on and so forth. And people do go about their lives differently. They're affected and they're impacted, but it's great to see some road signs.
Yeah.
As you're going through life, it's good to see the road sign. Wait, what was that Marlon Craft just made? Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. You know, you're going down the road, time passes by. Damn, Marlon Craft just dropped another. Yo, that kid's staying consistent. And then the storm comes back
Right.
4 years later. And
Right.
you already been keeping them educated and keeping them in tune to some extent, and you're keeping yourself, and you're doing it because it needs to be done, you know.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you too, like the other thing that happened, there was that meeting, but like I was making all these freestyles early on, was all this stuff was mad political. And these people were telling me all the time that like, oh, you're gonna get put in this political box. Oh, you're gonna be the conscious rapper, like evading that label and all that stuff. But I'll tell you what, man, those few weeks when the world was shut down and everybody was protesting, nobody was saying that shit to me then.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was looking to me for advice.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Other white artists, like I felt that energy too, like of being like, oh shit, you the guy that's been kind of doing this for a minute, huh? Let me look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I felt really proud during that time when I looked back at my shit of like work over the years of being like, nah, and because I get the imposter syndrome too, you know, like I'm not like I can do better in so many ways, and I question all the time if I'm even doing shit. You know, it's like, but I look at that and during that time, and I was like, that was like, yo, you stay on your purpose, because when these moments happen, it's like, then what? No one wants to hear the song about like, you know, like, and there's room for I love all types of music, but
they're gonna want to hear that kind of
that real shit,
that change music. You know,
change music, that someone that's giving it to them straight, and they want to have someone to turn to during that time, and like that's the role that I want to fill, you know.
Little Baby had his bigger picture. That's
Right.
change music. One of his, that'll go down for him and his legacy, one of his most powerful songs he ever made. You know, that's change music. I find that interesting that white artists came to you for advice.
Well, I wouldn't say like super outwardly, but like you could tell. You know
They're
what I'm
beating
saying?
around the bush, like, hey.
Yeah, you could tell. A lot of it was like trying to feel out, like, am I one of the people that you're talking about? Like, you know, like it was almost like, or a lot of people, like somebody, you know, somebody check it, like call somebody close to me and be like, was he talking about me? You know what I'm saying? Like, like shit like that, to know that it's like, oh, but people are watching in times like this, what someone like me has to say. And, you know, it was interesting. It was definitely interesting to see. And the feeling that too, like I didn't feel like you talk about staying the course. I didn't feel like I had to rush to anything, because it was like, all right, how do we actually make impact and sustain it, you know? And it's hard, man. Like I don't know, like I don't have the answers, you know?
Yeah, neither do I, bro. You just keep working. Man, the outro of the album, man, I like your introspect. I like when you talk to us. You know what I mean? And how did you want to end the album? What made you want to end it like you did?
Well, so the two interludes on the album, there's like the interlude and then the outro, and they're both part of this long sort of like poem narrative thing that I wrote, that kind of tells the story of the album and in the year of 2020, you know, for me. And it uses all the album titles. So like they're within there. And some of them are like easy to catch, some of them are not, but it kind of like in the order that the album is ordered, uses those to describe. So I knew, I was like, I'm gonna break these up. And I had the homies, we get together and we scored the music around like what I had written. And so I just wanted to tie everything together and say like, it's like, this is kind of how I got here, like over the course of this crazy year, like this is from where it started and what my intention was when the year started to where it ended and what I'm leaving with. And I love that type of shit, man. Like those like Glassbury chords with the fucking sax. And my man, when he sent me that sax back, yo, I was like, there's this one note that he hits where he's kind of like shrieking with the sax that like it gets like a tear out of me every time. It just feels very emotive to me. So, and also it's because I had In the End as the last song, and I love that song too, but it was like a little more like bluesy and like poppy, and like it just didn't quite feel right for Marlon Craft for me to like end it. Like I was like, let's bring it back to the jazz, man. We got to bring it home. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Great job, bro. Bravo. I know we've been trying to do this for a minute, but I'm glad we're doing it now. Because I went back and started listening to the album again, and it was like, yo, the things still sound good. You know, sometimes, sometimes albums be having 2 or 3 cycle burns, and then, but I can sit back and listen to it. I'm excited to hear what you do next musically, and I want to make a request.
Oh.
That if it comes to you that you make one of the funnest songs you made to date.
Yeah.
That people could dance to.
I got a couple, yo. I got some interesting. So the challenge for me now is to try to figure out like how and in what order to release a lot of stuff, because I made so much music. Like I basically got a whole other album in the tuck, like that. It's like 80% of the way there. I just got to really get in and finish. And then I got this EP that is kind of like in the mom's whiskey bag of like just that me it's kind of like the project I made while making How We Intended. It's like wrestling with all the new emotions of being in a new space, real introspective and vulnerable, a little like, these types of things. So I got so many different types of songs and music. And what I've watched and seen is that the way to really do it, especially independently, is to be really consistent. So I think for me, it's going to be about like, when it's album time, it's going to be like, I'm going to make it known. And it's like, yo, this is the next step in the musical legacy of Marlon Craft, and this is the 3rd album, and here it is. And then in the in-between, it's like, here's all these other songs, like have them, live with them. Here's this little EP with maybe with this producer, here's this with that, because otherwise all these songs are just going to sit on my computer and like not go to people that are going to fuck with them, and not go towards helping me build my audience, frankly. So figuring out like how to do all that in between is gonna be interesting. But I'm coming with it. I got I'm gonna drop off like a new little something for them the next week or two, man. Something that I think you'll fuck with, real musical and dope.
Okay, shoot it to me.
Yeah, I will.
Marlon Craft, brother, it's always good to talk to you, family. Come on, man. All right.
You too, man. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. It's good to talk to you always.